when my husband helped that trainee nurse make a spreadsheet for the third time. I bit into a sour tangerine. The next moment, I calmly stood up, closed the door, and never came back. My friends asked me. Joel had finally let go of his first love and married me. So how could I suddenly be so heartless? I said it was because the tangerine was too sour. They laughed at me. What kind of reason is that? I laughed too when I no longer wanted to get entangled with Joel. That sour tangerine was enough to be the reason. Chapter 1. When I walked into the hospital room, Joel had one hand supporting the laptop and the other gripping the mouse. His leg was injured and wrapped in a cast, but he still looked completely focused, as if he were dealing with something important. It's actually very simple. Look, you just do it like this. The girl held the mouse pad with both hands, her eyes fixed on the laptop screen as she nodded again and again. It seemed it was finished. The girl let out a slightly exaggerated wow, then turned her head and almost ended up nose to nose with my husband. The look in her eyes was young and full of admiration. Joel seemed to freeze for a moment, without moving. In the end, it was the girl who blushed and stepped back half a step, lowering her head and saying, "Thank you." As she passed by me, she looked up at me and explained awkwardly. I asked Joel to help me make a spreadsheet. When I saw her eyes clearly, my heart clenched, and I instantly understood why Joel had gone absent-minded for that moment. She looked too much like her. Chapter 2. Joel caught sight of me from the corner of his eye and rubbed the side of his forehead. Not busy at work? His face was full of exhaustion, with dark bruised shadows under his eyes. He was obviously not in good shape. I came back to my senses, picked up a tangerine from the plate, and only then answered him. Mom told me to come. We were childhood sweethearts, and now we had been married for 3 years. Both families had urged us more than once to have a child. I didn't want one, and neither did he, so we reached an agreement to brush off both sides of the family together. He fell silent and shifted his leg in the cast. He bent over, set up the folding table, and started working. Less than 10 minutes later, there was a sudden knock on the door. The girl poked half her face in. She hesitated, glanced at me, then at Joel. Joel spoke crisply. "Go ahead." She trotted into the room, hugging her laptop as she moved up next to Joel. "I still have one more question." My hands did not stop moving as I swiftly peeled a tangerine. The sweet sour scent spread through the whole hospital room. I watched Joel close the laptop he had just taken out and take hers instead. I remembered a long time ago, when I kept pestering Joel to explain a project to me. What had he said back then? If you can't understand it, that's even more reason to learn it yourself. Chapter 3. I simply set the tangerine aside, propped up my chin, and watched her. Not only did her profile look similar, even her mannerisms were similar, especially the way she curved her eyes when she looked at people. "Joel, you're amazing." A faint smile appeared on Joel's face too, probably because he had not dealt with such a simple problem in a long time. He said a little more than usual. "Learn more. Don't come running to me every time you don't know something." The girl stuck out her tongue, then said, "My aunt told me to come to you." Even though I was prepared, hearing that still felt like a piece had been carved out of my chest, leaving cold air rushing through it. I picked up the tangerine and carefully peeled away every white thread from the surface, then asked without even lifting my head, "Amelia?" Although it was a question, I already knew the answer in my heart. Sure enough, the girl's surprised voice rang out. "You know my aunt?" Chapter 4. I didn't know her. I had never even met her. By the time I learned that name, she had already transferred away. Joel and I were childhood sweethearts. In college, we were in schools far apart, one in the south and one in the north. On the day he left, I confessed to him in my proud and overbearing way, "Joel, I like you. You're not allowed to look at other girls." He smiled and said he only thought of me as a younger sister. And during his freshman year, he started a relationship. But that relationship came fast and ended just as fast. That summer of his sophomore year, just when I was about to go meet that girl, they had already broken up, and she had gone abroad to study. At the time, I said carelessly to the people around me, "She was only with Joel for 2 years. I've been his childhood friend. I'm going to be with him for life." Compared to a lifetime, more than 10 years is nothing. Back then, I clumsily measured everything with time, thinking that if it lasted long enough, It would surely leave a mark in his heart. But I forgot, what was the point of looking only at time? The main thing was Joel. If Joel was willing, then I would be the wife who stayed with him for life. If Joel was unwilling, then I would just be the dining companion who kept him company through decades of a boring life. Joel called my name in a low voice. Like a warning, Julia. My full name. First and last. When he was drunk. How did he call Amelia? He called her his wife. Chapter 5. The girl sensed that the atmosphere was off. Softly said, "Sorry," and walked out. I split the whole tangerine apart and, as if forcing myself to find something to do, started picking the strings off each segment one by one. After saying that, Joel picked up his own laptop and went back to work. He said casually, "It's been so many years, can we not bring it up?" Was I the one bringing it up? Was I the one who wanted to bring it up? Even I couldn't understand it. How could those short 2 years, the name Amelia, possibly overshadow all the years Joel and I had spent together? The first time was in the first year after Joel and I got together. He confessed to me in a flustered way. Amelia is back. Other people did not know why they broke up, but I did. Amelia cheated. What a disgusting reason. And yet it was exactly that disgusting reason that kept Joel trapped in place. At the time, I comforted him. If you want to go see her, then go. Things always have to be made clear. Joel tapped my head and said I was silly. What kind of person pushes her own boyfriend away? He didn't go. A month later, he proposed to me. I thought he had really let go. But this year, in the 3rd year of our marriage, he injured a leg because of Amelia. The facts were right in front of me. I couldn't keep lying to myself. Could I? Our 2 families came to this hospital often. Normally, whenever I had any illness, big or small, I came here too. It was only because Joel was hospitalized this time that I found out he was this familiar with that nurse. It was also this time that I found out she called Amelia aunt. I held out the tangerine in my hand to Joel. He waved his hand, and I casually set it in the fruit plate beside us. I looked up at him. He was still the way he was in my memory. As if in the next second he would lift my school bag and call out to me, "Let's go home." So I simply said it. With a hint of reckless resignation, "I don't like you helping her make spreadsheets." Joel froze for a moment. In the 3 years of our marriage, I had rarely made demands in the bossy way I used to. Maybe it was because I had been with him for too long. More often than not, I thought about reasons. Everything had to have a reason. Even I had forgotten the last time I acted spoiled without being reasonable. Joel tilted his head and glanced at me. After a long while, he let out a sound, Chapter 6. But it was just that coincidental. Right after he agreed, there was another knock at the door. This time, the girl pushed the door open and walked in directly. "Joel, explain it to me, please." I forgot again. Without changing his expression, Joel glanced at me and refused her. "It's very simple. You can look it up online." But the girl walked straight over, moved his laptop away, and put hers in its place. I remembered again, back when we had just gotten married. On a day off, I suddenly wanted to look something up. Before my hand even touched his laptop, he reached out to stop me. "I don't like other people touching my laptop." The girl acted spoiled. "My aunt said you'd help me. Just this once." Joel looked at her helplessly, then looked at me again. Seeing that I said nothing, he finally took the laptop. The 3rd time, the man's steady voice sounded through the hospital room again, and I suddenly felt that it was all rather pointless. I hadn't been by Joel's side during those 2 years, so I didn't know exactly how much he had loved Amelia. Now that I think about it, he must have loved her very much. Enough to love everything associated with her. Enough to patiently explain simple spreadsheets to her niece. When I was younger, I had even thought about competing with Amelia, seeing who Joel treated better. Now it seems there is no need to compare. Just Amelia's niece alone is enough for me to lose completely. The voices were still going on. I glanced at the neatly peeled tangerine. At the very least, I had peeled it myself. If Joel wouldn't eat it, then at least someone should taste it. But apparently my luck was bad. Even the tangerine was sour. I felt a little wronged. Why was the tangerine sour? What right did the tangerine have to be sour? Then I felt that getting hung up on a question like that was a little boring. Along with that, my nearly 10 years of persistence also started to feel boring. I stood up. Joel lifted his head from behind the laptop screen and asked me, Where are you going? The sour taste was still in my mouth. I looked at him, and he seemed a little tense. Joel thought I would be angry because he had broken his promise, but I answered. The tangerine is too sour. He let out a breath of relief, as if he had narrowly escaped a disaster. There are sweet ones downstairs. Buy some and come back quickly. It's almost time to eat. After saying that, he lowered his head again to look at the laptop, gently explaining those questions that could easily be found with a quick online search. Without looking back, I walked out of the hospital room. Chapter 7. Standing downstairs at the hospital, I looked at the people coming and going, and for a moment, I was dazed. Where should I go? When I don't know where to go, I go home. My parents are retired and travel all over the country. The house is empty, but I still wanted to go home. I bought the earliest ticket available and went straight from the hospital to the high-speed rail station. I took nothing, dealt with nothing, and left this place behind without a second thought. Before departure, Joel suddenly called me. I answered. His tone sounded normal. When are you coming back? We might have a guest staying at home. On the other end of the phone, I heard the girl's lively voice. Brother Joel, it's okay if my aunt stays at your place, right? I think sister-in-law. Before I could hear the rest of the conversation, he hurriedly hung up. He sent me a message. When you get back, I'll explain it to you. The taste of that sour tangerine from the hospital instantly filled my mouth again. I did not answer him. Instead, rather abruptly, I sent him a message. Let's get divorced. He thought I was joking and replied quickly. I have something urgent right now. Stop making trouble first. Is divorce something you can just say so casually? I told you. When you come back, I'll explain the reason to you. But what reason could there possibly be? Letting a woman move into the house, other than ambiguity and cheating. I couldn't think of a third reason. I had already made myself very clear. The next second, I blocked him directly. After I got on the train, the city gradually disappeared behind me. Only then did I belatedly remember that the last time I had thrown caution to the wind like this, it had also been because of Joel. Back then, he had just started his business and was in the hardest stage. He had rented an entire floor as an office. No one believed in him. I took the 80,000 yuan I had saved and came to him without hesitation. I still remember that year, crouching in front of that shabby building and sending him a message. Joel, I came to find you. He came downstairs looking scruffy and unshaven. The instant I put the bank card into his hand, fat tears fell from his eyes. And that was more moving than anything else. It's just that the burning passion I had back then has now gradually gone cold. I came because of him, and I am leaving because of him. That makes for a complete circle, I suppose. Chapter 8. After I got home, I had barely lain down on the bed when I came across Amelia's Moments post. Won the case. Finally got divorced. And now I even have a place to live. A new life begins. The woman was smiling brightly. She had attached a photo of herself with her lawyer, and at the very edge was Joel sitting in a wheelchair. So this was the urgent matter Joel had mentioned. Amelia had bad luck with men. Her husband was abusive, and since last year she had been seeking legal advice for a divorce. During that period, Joel kept everything bottled up and said nothing, while he looked for lawyer after lawyer about divorce cases. In the end, I learned about it from one of his friends. That friend sent me Amelia's contact information. At the time, I had tried to persuade Joel, and Joel said to me, "She's a girl all on her own. I can't just stand by and watch her get beaten, can I?" So I sent her the most famous lawyer I knew. She replied to me with, "Thank you," but she never added that lawyer. I thought she had found a better option. Now, seeing the lawyer's face in the photo, I understood everything. He was Joel's college professor. And Joel had told me more than once how incredible he was. Compared like that, the person I found really was nothing special. Then again, from the very beginning, she never needed my help. My husband would naturally do everything he could to clear every obstacle out of her way. I liked her post. The next second, she sent me a message. "We'll be living together from now on, so I'll have to trouble you, sister-in-law." I saved that sentence along with the screenshot of her post, then turned off my phone and went to sleep. I do want a divorce, but the blame cannot end up on my head. Chapter 9. Amelia moved quickly. The very next day, she moved into our house. She replaced the succulents I kept on the balcony with jasmine, replaced the handmade vase I had placed in the living room with a transparent glass vase. And the most disgusting thing was that she dug out my old clothes and threw every last one of them away. She posted every single thing she did. Joel silently allowed it. Once things had escalated to this point, one of Joel's friends called to remind me, just lower your head to Joel and explain things clearly. Wouldn't that solve it? Amelia wouldn't touch her things carelessly either. Why should I lower my head? What did I do wrong? When I was little, I accidentally knocked over the fish soup my mother had spent 2 hours making. Even though my mother loved me, I still couldn't just say, the bowl burned my hand. It was the bowl's fault. And now another woman had moved into my house, and I was still supposed to lower my head and apologize for the things I actually did wrong. I never opened my mouth to apologize. Now that I'm not in the wrong, why should I apologize? What kind of logic is that? I answered that friend. Let her throw things away. Amelia can throw out whatever she wants. I'm not going back there anyway. Then what exactly is your reason? Joel finally gave up on his first love and married you. What exactly are you doing this for? I joked. That day, I ate a sour tangerine. What kind of reason is that? Joel was probably with him. That joke of mine must have gotten to him. His impatient voice suddenly came through the phone. Fine. Keep making a scene. I've already changed the lock at home too. If you come back, go get the key from Amelia. In the past, in a situation like this, I would have given Joel a way out. But now I stayed silent. Joel sensed that the atmosphere was wrong, and his voice suddenly softened. Julia, apologize to me, and I'll forgive you. You left me alone in the hospital, but why did he think the one in the wrong was me? I hung up, and then blocked them all together. A bunch of lunatics. Chapter 10. Amelia kept recording her life without interruption. This time, she was wearing a bath towel and lying on the bed. Her eyes looked dreamy, and she was clutching a key beside her cheek. Caption, I have a home now too. I watched in silence and screenshotted everything she posted as backup. I calculated when the package would arrive, then pulled Joel out of my blocked list. I called first, and he answered. I heard a woman's voice come through the receiver. Joel, don't be so fierce. If you can't explain it clearly, I will. Joel called my name in a restrained voice. Julia. When Joel discovered that I had blocked him, he had panicked for a moment. But then he remembered how, in the past, I had blocked him plenty of times whenever I threw a tantrum. So he completely relaxed. But in that phone call yesterday, I said I would not be going back. And my tone had been calm. Completely unlike the way I used to throw fits long ago. He had felt uneasy. But today I called him again. Joel thought that, just like before, I would lose my temper, make a fuss, and then obediently come home. But in the next second, my voice came through the phone. The package will arrive today. Sign it. What? The divorce agreement. There was suddenly no sound on his end. After a long while, he asked again. What? I laughed. If there's no problem with the agreement, then sign it. Joel did not know what he was thinking. Perhaps he had realized that I was not joking, because a rare note of tension entered his voice. Julia, I'm not getting a divorce. But why bother? The person he liked was right there beside him. If he could accept that she cheated and then came back, he must really love her. Why wouldn't he let me go? Think it over again. If this turns into a court divorce, it'll be trouble for both of us. Chapter 11. When I pushed the door open the next day, Joel was already standing at the entrance. His leg had not fully healed. He still carried the smell of hospital disinfectant on him, and his face was pale. I was not surprised at all that he could find me. After all, we lived in the same neighborhood. He only had to ask any neighbor to know that I had already come back. He pinched the bridge of his nose, looked at me, and slowly said, Amelia has already moved out. He acted as if he had suffered so much, as if he were magnanimously giving me a way out. But when he could have had her move out from the very beginning, why did he have to wait until I was angry, even utterly disheartened, before finally filling in the answer that would satisfy me? Whenever Amelia was involved, I was always the one abandoned. Anything connected to Amelia was more important than me. That sour tangerine was so sour it made me cry. So much so that even now, when I think back on it, I can still remember that feeling. I never want to taste that sour tangerine again. I looked at Joel and said, I've liked you for so many years. Just let me go. Perhaps it was the first time he had ever heard me speak in that tone, because he froze for a moment. The next second, he bent down and gently pulled me into his arms, softening his tone as he said quietly, Julia, let's be good together. Haven't you always wanted a baby? He brought up old matters from years ago, but I could see the hickey on the side of his neck perfectly clearly. I felt sick, but I had no tangible evidence. With only a hickey, there was nothing I could do. He refused to sign the divorce agreement, and the lawyer tactfully told me that without concrete evidence, a divorce lawsuit could drag on endlessly. Concrete evidence, recordings, photographs, even an apology letter written by the husband in regret, any of those would work. But when we got married, one marriage certificate was all it took. So why was divorce so difficult? As long as he refused to agree, the divorce could be delayed again and again. For them, marriage was a contract with lifelong benefits. But for women, it was a disaster that became difficult to escape the moment they stepped into it. I looked at that hickey and asked him, did it feel good? He lowered his head at me in confusion. What? Sleeping with Amelia, did it feel good? For an instant, panic flashed across his face. Then he said, where did you hear that rumor? It was just that hickey. I was not completely certain he had really cheated. I had only suddenly thought of the way Amelia looked clutching that key and wearing that bathrobe, and made a casual guess. But his reaction was not normal. When a normal person is falsely accused of cheating, they flare up in anger. But his first reaction was to ask where I had heard it. I said nothing. I just looked at him calmly. A bead of sweat formed on the tip of his nose. Did Amelia tell you? 1 second ago, he had been calling Amelia intimately. The next second, realizing he might have been exposed, he immediately used her full name, deliberately trying to create distance. I remained silent. He said, you can't believe what she says. She's the type who lies through her teeth. He washed his own hands of everything. When he was about to keep explaining, 2 tears slipped down my face with red-rimmed eyes. I asked him, do you take everyone for fools? We grew up together. Do you think I don't know which of your words are lies? Seeing me cry, he became flustered in a way that was rare for him. I reached out to push him away, raising my voice. Are you still not going to tell the truth? He took a step back and raised his hand in a panic, wanting to wipe away my tears. In the end, he said helplessly, it was an accident. I really drank too much. I don't know how she ended up lying beside me the next day. That explanation was exactly what I wanted. There was a security camera by the entrance of my house, and it had recorded every word clearly. The tears that I had originally forced out just to bluff him became impossible to stop after he confessed. He still tried to take my hand. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face, then looked at him and said, flirting with your first love while keeping me, your wife, on the line at the same time, were you enjoying yourself? This time, he did not argue back. He simply stood there. When he saw that I could not stop crying, he murmured, Julia, I never thought things would get to this point. She left the marriage with nothing, without a penny. Back when I was helping find Amelia a divorce lawyer, I had gone to great lengths to look into everything related to her. She did not get divorced because of domestic violence, but because of cheating. It was exactly the same reason she had cheated back when she was with Joel. She looked down on them for being poor. After leaving Joel, she did indeed end up with that rich second-generation heiress she had wished. But after marrying him, she entered a world that had never belonged to her and realized that the rich heir in her eyes was merely at the bottom of that circle. She tried the same trick again, and ended up losing both money and everything else. That was the kind of vile person Joel liked. I swung my hand again and slapped him across the face. Cheap man, trashy woman, aren't you afraid of filthying my eyes? Get lost. Stay the hell away from me. Chapter 12. Originally, I did not want to let other people watch the spectacle. I had wanted to get divorced quietly and without a sound. But now I finally could not hold it in anymore. I posted every screenshot I had into the big family group chat. Not only that, I posted the screenshots on all my social media platforms. In something like this, the ones who should feel ashamed are them. I have no need to reflect on myself. My phone kept ringing nonstop, and more people came asking me for gossip. I gave them all one sentence: you should go ask Joel and Amelia what they think. After learning about this online, my best friend specifically took time off and rushed back to see me. The first thing she did was scold me. Why didn't you tell me in advance? Halfway through our drinks, she leaned close to me and started cursing Joel. Joel is seriously not human. If it weren't for the fact that you two were childhood sweethearts, I wouldn't have helped bring you together. If I'd known, I should have set you up with Sam instead. I had not heard that name in years, and it took me a few seconds to drag it back out of my memory. Sam, my college classmate. My best friend had been in the same major as him, so she knew all about these things. At least Sam kept himself clean. In our whole circle, you were the only one who had his contact information. Even I didn't have it. When he chased after you back then, why did I side with Joel? I must have been blind. Because back then I liked Joel. She learned about Joel through me, so of course she naturally stood on my side. My best friend still would not stop ranting. I smiled at her. What's the point of bringing up all those old stories? You have to look forward. She got drunk and, in a daze, asked me, how did you know Joel cheated? When I listened to your recording, the way you suddenly said it, even I got startled. I took her glass away and told her honestly. I guessed. In the end, she drank herself into a complete mess, cursing Joel over and over again and calling out Sam's name, saying she regretted it. I took her back home, and by the time I returned, it was already close to evening. From far away, I saw someone standing downstairs outside my building. The evening glow lit up the tall figure of the man, and he sharply noticed my gaze. The next second, I ran into a pair of dark black eyes. Sam. He quickly walked toward me and explained first. I'm here on a business trip. I heard you came back. Want to have dinner together? He was wearing a suit, as if he had just finished some meeting, although he had taken good care of me back then. At this moment I took a step back to widen the distance. I already ate. He was not embarrassed either. He stood there, and after a long while, he spoke. Julia, there's no need for things to be this awkward between us. You can treat me as a friend. I still stepped back and explained to him. I'm not lacking in friends. That was the difference between Joel and me. He could calmly stay friends with his ex-girlfriend, while I could not even be friends with someone who had once pursued me. If we were never going to be together in the first place, why give the other person hope? Instead, he laughed. Back then, when you rejected me, you were already this decisive. I didn't even get to finish my confession. Now I've gotten smarter. I say the excuse first, and you still reject me. I said nothing. He let out a self-mocking laugh and gave me a nod. Go on upstairs. I'll stand down here for a while. Seeing me look at him, he smiled at me again. Am I not even allowed to stand here for a while? Chapter 13. After he said that, I turned to leave and accidentally twisted my ankle. By the time I reacted, he was already crouching on the ground, checking my ankle. His index finger was warm, and he quickly came to a conclusion. No bones are injured, but try not to do any strenuous activity for the next couple of days. At a time like this, I twisted my ankle. No matter how you put it. What a coincidence. I could only brace myself and explain. I met up with my best friend today, so I wore high heels. I don't usually wear them often. The man helped me up and, smiling, cut me off. Don't worry, I'm not going to flatter myself. There was a touch of self-mockery in his tone, and I shut my mouth completely. The next day, when I went out to pick up my takeout, I ran into him at the door. He smiled and explained, the air around here is nice, so I bought a place. He really is rich. When I went to throw out the trash, we ran into each other in the elevator again. He was carrying 2 bags of fresh ingredients. Seeing my gaze land on the bags, he explained, the food at the nearby market is clean, so I picked up some groceries while I was there. When he saw me hopping awkwardly on one foot, he reminded me, if it hurts badly, you should still go to the hospital. He lived right next door to me. If the balcony door was not shut tightly enough, the smell of cooking oil and food drifted straight into my home. After eating takeout for several meals in a row, during another chance encounter at the door, he handed me a bag of neatly packed wontons. The handmade wontons from this shop are pretty good. I had never set foot in a kitchen, so I had no idea there was even a place near my home that sold them. Pathetically enough, I reached out and took them. After I got home, I followed the label and transferred him the money. I had typed out a long string of words to persuade him in the chat box. But the next second, he accepted the money without the slightest hesitation. Once I saw that he took the money, I felt no guilt at all. Once there is a first time, there is a second. I liked a certain kind of grape, and whenever I asked him to bring some, he never got it wrong. In less than 2 days, it was no longer just grapes. I was mooching all 3 meals a day off him. I do not check my phone often. As long as the food was ready, he would come knock on my door. I paid for the groceries. He did the work. You could say it was a pleasant partnership. Chapter 14. Knock. Knock. Sam handed me the grapes he had bought and had just gone back to cook when there was a sudden knock at the door. I hopped to the door on one foot and opened it without hesitation. "Did you forget something?" And just like that, the woman appeared at the door without warning. She waved at me. "I'm Amelia." At last. The face matched the voice. This was our first time meeting, but the moment I saw her, all I felt was disgust. I leaned against the doorframe, wanting to shut the door, but she hurriedly spoke up. "There may be some misunderstanding. I want to explain." She pushed hard against the door, and her voice suddenly grew louder, though her tone remained cloyingly sweet. "Can you help me post a video saying Joel forced me?" For a moment, I was so shocked that I loosened my grip instinctively. She braced the door and stood there, smiling awkwardly, a dimple pressing into the side of her cheek. She really did have a beautiful face, but the words coming out of her mouth were shameless to the extreme. "The post you made is getting too much attention. People keep cursing me out, so I came to you." I had no idea how she even had the nerve to ask. Seeing that I said nothing, she looked at me and explained. "At the time, I really had no money and needed a place to stay. Joel had feelings for me. He cursed me while still being unable to stop himself from coming close. If something can be used, of course I'll use it. Now I'm in a relationship, and my boyfriend cares a little about this, so I want to clear it up." She was shorter than me. At that moment, she stood there with her lips pressed together in a smile. Anyone who did not know better might have thought she was my friend, discussing with me where we were going to hang out that afternoon. "I can't help you in something like this. One hand alone can't clap. 100,000. The post is already out there. I can't just slap myself in the face. 200,000. It's getting too much attention right now. I really can't help." She looked at me, smiling with narrowed eyes. 2 million. Deal. She transferred the money without hesitation. Seeing my confusion, she explained to me, "I never really wanted to stay with that rich heir anyway. It's easier to find the next one after a divorce. There are plenty of suckers out there." As she spoke, she sent me the video. I looked at it. Her face was haggard, and she sat on the bed crying pitifully, sobbing as she spoke, her words a mix of truth and falsehood. "I had nowhere to go, and Joel let me stay for 2 days. I thought I had met a good person. I even messaged sister-in-law to say sorry for troubling her. I never thought he would do something like this. He had been drinking, and he said he liked me." Her video was even paired with screenshots of our chat, making it look as if she had really been bullied. Only when she saw me upload the video did she finally let out a breath of relief. Then she smiled with narrowed eyes again. "Don't be surprised. I know I'm disgusting and shameless." It was as if she had not had a proper conversation with anyone in a long time, because she suddenly added, "But women as cheap as me are often the ones who live the most freely." How ironic, isn't it? I watched her sink deeper and deeper into her own world, and carefully reminded her, "Maybe you should find some time to go to the hospital." She did not get angry when she heard me. Instead, she covered her stomach and burst out laughing. "Anyway, this is just one worthless life. If I die, then I die." After she laughed enough, she took out her phone to check the trending topic. When she saw that the comments were going in the direction she wanted, she shyly thanked me. "Thank you." I agreed, not only for the money, but also for myself. In a divorce lawsuit, the more evidence I had, the more advantageous it would be for me. As for her, sooner or later, she would crash and burn. Chapter 15. After she left, I finally saw the message Sam had sent me. "Are you done talking?" I've been standing at the door the whole time and didn't dare go in. Shivering. JPG. The most recent one had come a minute ago. I brought you food. I had just opened the door to let Sam in when there was another knock. Some things are just this absurdly comedic. Joel suddenly barged in. He must have run all the way here, because he was still short of breath. The moment he saw Sam sitting off to the side, he pointed at him and said, "Who is he?" I did not answer. Sam spoke coldly from the side. "A friend." After hearing that, Joel violently smashed the ornament beside him. He had never met Sam before. Catching sight of the light gray lunchbox on the table, he questioned me sentence by sentence. What kind of friend specifically comes to bring you food? What kind of friend needs to be alone with you? And what's next? Next. Are you going to lie in the same bed? Sam finally could not hold back anymore and punched him in the face. When Joel was pinned to the floor, I spoke up. Don't assume everyone is as disgusting as you are. Just because you cheated doesn't mean everyone cheats. Joel's face was bruised and swollen, but he suddenly changed the subject and brought up the real reason he had come to see me. What is that video supposed to mean? Amelia is the mistress. Before, he had told me not to misunderstand, that Amelia simply had nowhere to live. Now that his reputation and his interests were at stake, he immediately admitted that Amelia was the other woman. His hands were pinned behind him by Sam, and he suddenly shouted, "Why aren't you attacking her? Why are you cursing me together with her instead? Why couldn't I curse him together with Amelia?" It was Joel himself who had taken her back to the house. It was also Joel who knew Amelia was getting divorced and rushed to find her a lawyer. And it was Joel himself who willingly ended up in bed with Amelia. In an affair, both the man and the woman are at fault. If the woman is trashy, then the man is just as trashy. What made Joel think I would only blame Amelia? In the end, Sam threw Joel out, and Joel sat outside my door until the middle of the night. Only after he saw Joel leave in a hurry did Sam stand up to go. He had injuries on his face too. I watched him rub his wrist. Before I could speak, he cut in first. "Don't feel burdened. I just like hitting people. Are you going to manage that too?" Without waiting for me to answer, he spoke quickly. "I'm leaving tomorrow, so I won't bother you anymore. No need to see me off." Early the next morning, I got a message from him. "I told you not to see me off, and you really didn't come. I even made all that noise next door on purpose." I typed and deleted several times, and in the end only sent, "Have a safe trip." Chapter 16. It was only that afternoon, when my best friend told me, that I found out Joel had gone bankrupt. His company had only just started getting on track over the past 2 years, and it was completely unable to withstand the attacks from netizens. Netizens only had to say one thing: don't buy anything from their company. His company barely held on for 2 weeks before it finally collapsed. Last night, Joel had been rushing off to deal with the company's problems. The video had spread too widely, and Joel's mother called me. The moment I picked up, she launched into a long string of words. Joel really was in the wrong. You should be angry. It was all because he had no sense of boundaries and was soft-hearted enough to let a friend stay in the house for 2 days. So yes, it makes sense that you'd bring up divorce. Joel's leg was injured. You left him alone in the hospital, and of course he shouldn't have been meeting friends. In Joel's family, the husband worked outside and the wife took care of the home. Whenever I went to their house, Joel's mother was either cooking or doing laundry. I had always felt sorry for her and had spoken up for her more times than I could count. The woman who used to hold my hand and call me sweetheart over and over was now, on the surface, reducing Joel's cheating to him merely lacking boundaries, while indirectly taking digs at me. So I simply said, if Uncle let another woman stay overnight in the house, would that also just mean he had no sense of boundaries? It never hurts when the needle isn't in your own flesh. Sure enough, the other side suddenly fell silent. Then, half doubtful, she asked me, "How do you know?" "One time I went back to bring you something. I saw it." She immediately stopped talking about Joel, said a few random things, and then hung up. Less than half an hour later, my mother called me. She asked, "How did you know about Joel's father?" They were traveling together, so whatever happened, she knew faster than I did. She said that after Joel's mother went back and asked, Joel's father confessed to everything. Now things had become ugly. I guessed, just like last time, when I guessed Joel and Amelia had slept together. It was simply a feeling that something like this might happen. I was lucky. I guessed right again. I did not know whether I should feel relieved or find it laughable. She could not help laughing. Only after she finished laughing did she say in a serious tone, "You need to think it through carefully before you make your decision." I remembered that when Joel and I first got together, she had disapproved. Even though we were childhood sweethearts, she had shown no mercy with her words back then. "You two aren't suitable for each other." Suitable? What counts as suitable? Back then, I was young and threw myself in without hesitation, thinking that everyone was just some vicious villain trying to stop me from finding true love. On the day I got married, I asked her about it. She did not answer me. Instead, she brought up the wedding toasts. She said that when I was making the rounds toasting people, the cup in my hand had contained real alcohol at first, and in the end she had secretly switched it out for cola. She said, "Joel has the education, the looks, everything. The only thing is that his heart was never with you." Only now, after going through it myself and falling flat on my face, had I started to believe her words. My mother went on, "If you want a divorce, then get one. I can afford to support you." Chapter 17. That video spread fast, and before long, someone suddenly came looking for me. They asked me whether I knew Amelia. Before I could even speak, the other side named a price. "How much?" "Just say it." 100,000? The person handling the communication let out a light scoff. It sounded as if she were saying that even when bargaining, I was still too timid, too afraid to ask for more. Her voice was pleasant, and with an offhand tone, she multiplied the number I had named by 10. The last place she stayed was my ex-husband's house. "The address is XX District, X City. I don't know anything else. Thank you for your cooperation." Before hanging up, I was still curious, so I asked her, "What are you looking for Amelia for?" She answered me very politely, "It's not me who's looking for her. I'm just an assistant, doing a job for money." Even after hanging up, I still felt dazed. It all felt unreal. Joel's parents came to see me the next day. Joel's mother stood behind Joel's father. She had probably chosen to forgive him. When she saw me, she forced out a smile. Joel's father spoke first, trying to persuade me. Joel was just confused for a moment. "In the future, you're the one who's going to spend the rest of your life with him. You should forgive him this once." After all, he had watched me grow up. So I explained patiently, "It's not a matter of forgiving him once. From now on, every time I think of this, I would have to forgive him hundreds and thousands of times." He still tried to brush it off. "Isn't that just how life is?" Behind him, Joel's mother opened her mouth, then closed it again. The woman who used to be so brisk and energetic seemed to have all the moisture sucked out of her at once, like a completely wilted blade of grass. I took a step back, my voice turning cold. "I won't forgive him, you child." I had stayed polite and courteous with him because he still had dealings with my parents. But instead of stopping there, he pushed further and used his position as an elder to lecture me. "Uncle, aunt, if there's anything, please contact my parents. Joel and I will settle our own matters ourselves." Joel's father's expression changed, and I added, "And you too, uncle. At your age, you're still seeing another woman. I don't know how many people in the neighborhood have already seen you. Don't talk nonsense. You, let's go." Joel's mother suddenly cut him off. "Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough already?" "What's so embarrassing about it? I didn't steal and I didn't rob anybody. I just want to speak plainly." "What's embarrassing about that?" "If you think it's embarrassing, then you go." Joel's mother tugged at him again, and he turned around and slapped her across the face. She covered her cheek and looked at me. Usually, I was the one who protected her, but this time I did not move at all. She suddenly burst into tears. "Fine, you beat me at home, and I let it go. Now you beat me outside too. We've lived together for most of our lives. You may not think it's shameful, but I do. I'm telling you, now it's not just Julia getting divorced. I'm divorcing you too." After saying that, she wiped her tears hard and grabbed his hair, returning that slap to him. More and more people gathered around. By the time Joel arrived, his father was already being pinned to the ground by the crowd. He helped the man up, but Joel's mother suddenly rushed over, pointed at Joel, and shouted, And you, too, you're my son. When your father beat me, did you ever help me even once? No, the only one who helped me was Julia. You're exactly like your father. Selfish. Joel looked at me deeply and asked, do you really have to destroy my entire family before you'll be satisfied? Chapter 18. Someone filmed it and uploaded the video. Since he was the main character from the previous cheating scandal, a lot of people came to watch the drama. So he's just like his dad after all. I feel bad for the ex-wife. And I feel bad for the mother. Don't pity the mother. If she had even half the clarity of the ex-wife, it would never have dragged on until today. She was down bad. But the way people of their generation think is different from ours. By the way, if that scumbag forced the mistress, is he going to jail? Jail for what? They're both equally trashy. What kind of decent person moves into their ex's house right after a divorce? What if they're just ordinary friends? More and more people began discussing the matter. Some supported Joel's mother. Some opposed Joel's mother. And some supported Amelia. The arguments went on for several days, until Amelia got exposed. An anonymous post said that she specifically targeted rich men. She had been jumping seamlessly from one relationship to the next since high school. Basically, the moment she started dating one person, she was already looking for the next. Then someone abruptly posted a picture. Amelia was lying in a hospital bed. And someone asked, is it her? She's so young. Looks like she got into a car accident. I heard the wife came looking for her. And in her panic, she got hit. Life is unpredictable. I felt a little wistful. Then I remembered the assistant's polite reply, I'm just doing a job for money. I did not mock Amelia, nor did I make any comment at all about her hospitalization. Less than 2 days later, someone posted another photo. In the picture, Joel was holding a bouquet of flowers, wearing a wrinkled white shirt, going to see Amelia. The person who posted it even specifically added a comment, true love locked in forever. The only question is whether he's divorced that wife yet. Joel kept dragging things out and refused to provide anything, even in a situation where he had cheated. The first trial still did not grant the divorce. For the second trial, I could only wait until 6 months after the first judgment took effect before filing again. Things dragged on and on. Autumn came, and in the blink of an eye, winter arrived too. Just when I was about to finally make it through, a friend I had not spoken to in a long time suddenly called me. Julia, Joel is on the balcony right now. Just listen to him for a couple of minutes. We can't stop him. As if afraid I would refuse. Before I could even speak, the phone had already been handed to Joel. He asked me cautiously, Julia, do you remember when you confessed to me in high school? To be honest, I thought you were joking. But right after you graduated from college, you came to find me without bringing anything with you. When no one believed in me, you were the only one who did. Do you remember that winter? We squeezed together in a rented room and shared one takeout meal. I remembered. But now I feel that the me back then had something wrong with me. At home, I had been doted on, yet I went with him to squeeze into a rented room. If I could travel back in time, I would want nothing more than to slap myself. I cut off his reminiscing. What is it? Don't bring up all these old stories again. Every time you mention them, I feel sick. He seemed drunk out of his mind, calling my name over and over again. I looked at the lights outside the window. At last, he said, back then, after I got cheated on, I held on to that resentment. I wanted to make something of myself so Amelia could see it. I wanted to make her regret it. I never imagined things would turn out like this. Julia, it's my fault. I admit it. After saying that, he let out a sigh. Withdraw the case. I agree to sign the divorce papers now. After a long silence, I said, I don't believe you, Joel. Why was it that just when I was about to finally get through this, he came to tell me he agreed to sign? What if I withdrew the case, and then he suddenly changed his mind again? I had fought so hard just to see a glimmer of hope. I did not want even the slightest chance of not being able to get divorced. I don't believe you, Joel. I'm not withdrawing the case. He choked up on the other end of the phone. Do we really have to end up like this? I reminded him. It was you, Joel. You were the one who refused to let us part on good terms from the beginning. You were the one who let our relationship end up like this. The only place left for us is the courtroom. Laws written clearly in black and white were far more reliable than a man's words. I did not believe him. After the divorce, I rarely heard any news about Joel. Everything about that farce gradually got buried by time. It was only when my best friend excitedly brought up Joel that I dragged him back out of my memory. You have no idea. He's aged more than 20 years. His dad was asking him for money. If his dad hadn't called out to him, I wouldn't even have recognized him. I have no idea what he's doing now. I only saw him from far away. He deserves it. My best friend and I were here on a business trip, and she was enthusiastically trying to drag me out to look around. Maybe because you really shouldn't talk about people behind their backs. Just as we finished talking and were about to leave, we ran straight into that person at the entrance. For a moment, I froze. It was only when he called out, "Julia," that I recognized him. He had practically left the marriage with nothing, and these past few years had not been kind to him. My best friend immediately pulled him aside. "Stay away from us." Seeing the way she was shielding me, I laughed. "Let's go." At first, I didn't even recognize who he was. There was no need to waste any energy on irrelevant people. Epilogue. 4 years later, thanks to his excellent cooking, Sam successfully got brought home by me. This time, Mom did not object the way she had back then. Instead, she carefully told him about some of my little habits. When she got carried away, she pulled out a thick photo album, pointing at one photo after another. She talked about how I had changed. In some graduation photo from who knows what year, Sam suddenly spoke up. "That's me." I leaned over. It was our high school graduation photo, from back when my whole heart had been set on Joel. I touched his hair and said to him, "Don't tell me you already liked me back then." He grabbed my hand and said with a smile, "Am I not allowed to like you?" I didn't think it was hard. Even after getting married, I still did not understand why Mom had never objected to Sam and me at all. I pestered Mom for an answer. Sitting beside me, he proudly praised himself. Who knows? Mom just likes me. As he watched me fuss, he casually fed me a piece of fruit. Only after I bit into it did I realize it was a tangerine, and I instinctively wanted to spit it out. But it was sweet. I looked at him, and he said, "They were out of the grapes you like. So make friends with tangerines for now." Then you picked them really well. Every one I grab at random is sweet. He tapped me on the head. "Look at the tangerine peels on the table. All the sour ones are in my stomach. You little ingrate."